Welcome to the Collide Kids Podcast, hosted by Christen Clark. This is a show for kids and families. You are going to meet new people and have fun while you listen. Let's do it!
Hey, y'all. Welcome to the Collide Kids Podcast. I'm your host, Christen Clark. The Collide Kids Podcast is a show for kids and families where we learn together how life and faith collide. I am so glad that you're listening today. Thank you so much for being here and spending this time with me. Well, as you know, this season, we're introducing a brand new segment called Let's Talk About It. In this fun part of the show, I'm going to ask 3 questions. Some might be silly, some might be imaginative, and some deep and faith-filled. All are designed to spark some great family conversations. So be sure to stick around until the end of the interview for that. Well, if you're keeping track of the numbers, we are just a few episodes away from 200 episodes of the Collide Kids Podcast. Isn't that so fun? So for our 200th episode, I've got some really fun surprises planned for that. So stay tuned this month and join our newsletter. You can head over to the Collide Kids Podcast website, collidekidspodcast.com, and sign up for our newsletter. I send out a monthly newsletter with information about upcoming episodes and giveaways and fun family content. Lots of things your family will enjoy. Well, I cannot be more thrilled about our guest for today's episode. Okay, a little backstory. When I first started the podcast, I made a list of all the different jobs of people that I thought would be interesting to talk to. I wanted to learn more about what they do and how they got started. And there was one job that was on the list that I thought, this would be amazing, but I don't know if I'll ever get to interview an astronaut until today. And I could not be more over the moon to have Hayley Arceneaux on my show today. She is a physician assistant at St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, a career she committed to at the age of 10 after surviving pediatric bone cancer. She served as an ambassador for the hospital when she joined the first all-civilian orbital space mission, Inspiration 4, in September of 2021. And she spent 3 days in orbit. At age 29, she became the youngest American in space, the first pediatric cancer survivor, and the first astronaut with a prosthetic body part. You guys, this was such a fun conversation. You're going to be so excited to learn more about Hayley and her mission and all the things that she's been able to do and accomplish in her life. I am so excited for you guys to hear this episode. So here is my conversation with astronaut Hayley Arceneaux. Hayley Arceneaux, I am so excited to have you on the Collide Kids Podcast.
Well, thank you, because I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, this is so fun and this is so cool. So when I started putting together this idea for a podcast for kids, one of the things I wanted to do was to highlight different jobs. So I've been able to interview people who do lots of different things. I've been able to interview a jet pilot and a construction worker and a veterinarian, but there was always a job on my list that I've never been able to reach until today. I get to interview an astronaut.
Yay.
This is so fun. So this is fun for me. I hope it's fun for you too. Would you just introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
My name is Hayley Arceneaux. I am actually by trade, I went into medicine. I'm a physician assistant. I work with kids with cancer.
Awesome.
And I had this really incredible opportunity to go to space in 2021 and to become an astronaut. My mission to space was raising money for cancer research and funding. And I actually am a cancer survivor myself. I had bone cancer as a 10-year-old, and now I work at the hospital that saved my life, helping other kids with cancer. And this mission to space was raising money for the hospital where I work. And so they asked me if I would go to space and be the ambassador for the hospital on this space mission. So I said yes to the most incredible invitation of my life. Yes. And then I spent 6 months training, and I spent 3 days in orbit doing research in space and raising a bunch of money to help kids with cancer.
Oh, I love that. That is so amazing. I can't wait to talk to you about that because I'm so interested what that was like and what the training was like. Before we get into that, because this is a show for kids, I always ask my guests to tell me a joke. So do you have a joke for us today?
Yes, and I will give credit to when we were in space, we did a Zoom call with St. Jude patients, and a little boy told us this joke while we were in space. So this is his joke, but he said, "Are there cows on the moon?"
I would say yes.
I like to think so too.
That's good. On the moon. Yeah, that's good. Okay, well, let's start into this whole thing. Were you ever interested in going to space as a kid, or was this just something that popped up when you were working at the hospital?
So space has always been my little brother's thing. He was the kid that he wanted to go to NASA. So we went several times over the years growing up. He would launch rockets from our backyard. And now he's a real life aerospace engineer. So I always saw space as my brother's thing. And I was really focused on medicine growing up. I knew I wanted to work at the hospital where I was treated for cancer. And so space was never really something that I thought much about. And so when I got this invitation, it came as a total shock. I had not applied for anything. I didn't even know there was a space mission. And so you can imagine just that was the most shocking news of my life.
Yes, I'm sure. So they approach you and they're like, "Hey, you want to go to space?"
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, okay.
I said yes. And then I said, okay, let me check with my mom. But my answer is yes.
Yes. Yeah, mom has to approve. That's good.
And luckily she did.
Yes.
And luckily I had a little brother to call and answer all my questions about space travel.
So what was the training like? Like, I'm sure that was pretty intense.
It was intense. It was like mentally intense, academically intense, because we had so many lectures on like what space is, what our mission was going to be, what our roles are going to be. I was the medical officer for the mission, so I was in charge of the health of my crew members. So a lot of it was just academics. And then we spent time in the simulator of our spacecraft. One time we did a simulation for 30 hours straight, where we were in that little simulator for 30 hours at a time. But we just practiced being in space. And then our trainers would send us all these different problems that we had to work through. And then it was also physically challenging. We climbed a mountain together as part of our crew bonding. We did G-force training to learn about the gravity that would be on us for launch, for going to space, and then for coming back to Earth. We did a zero gravity flight. We did water survival training. We also did this exercise where they took our oxygen away and we had to learn what that felt like. And so the 6 months were pretty intensive, but it was really fun. I got to do something that was completely outside of my day-to-day and learn this new set of skills.
Yeah. Was there ever a part of the training experience where you're like, I don't know if I can do this?
It was the mountain climb.
Really?
And, and so to back up, my bone cancer was in my leg. And so I've had to have several surgeries on my leg where they took out that bone that was affected by the cancer and they put in this metal prosthesis, a metal rod inside my leg. And it's actually broken a couple times over the years and I've had to have more surgeries, but I was really worried. I didn't think I could even climb a mountain. I was worried about falling, something happening to my leg, and then I wouldn't be able to go to space. But I just had to have a lot of trust in the process and work hard to train for that. And we were able to succeed on our mission mountain climb.
That's amazing. I love that you guys did that together to bond also, but just to challenge you physically in all those different ways. So that's really cool. Okay. So you did that for 6 months and then they put you in the spacesuit. What happens next?
So, and I remember launch day, I imagined I'd be so nervous. And then I woke up and I said, I'm going to space today. And I was expecting this rush of emotions, anxiety, but I really didn't feel nervous. And then I put on the spacesuit and I still don't feel nervous. And then I strap into the spacecraft and they do the very iconic 10, 9, 8.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel nervous. I was just so excited because I knew in about 9 minutes I would be in space and all of my training had led up to this moment and it was finally here. And I was just so excited. And I had a lot of trust that I was going to be okay during the 9-minute launch, which is crazy that you get to space that fast.
Yeah.
But during that time, I felt like I was going to be okay. I've had a lot of trust in God and in his plan. And then 9 minutes later, all of a sudden, my arms and legs just start floating. And then I could see Earth out the window.
Now, were you like in a full body spacesuit, or what was your spacesuit like? What did you have to wear?
Yes, this spacesuit that they took over 200 measurements of my body to make it right for me. It was a full body spacesuit. It weighed 25 pounds. So it was very heavy on Earth. In space, of course, it didn't weigh anything. But yes, it was very official looking too.
Now, here's the question I always wonder. What is the food like in space?
So if you think about space food, you tend to think about like the dehydrated food that they serve on the space station. But on our spacecraft, it wasn't a very big spacecraft. We didn't have a rehydrator. So we had to bring food that was shelf stable. Or we also had basically a really fancy ice chest that we brought with us that we could keep some cool food. So we ate a lot of cold pizza. They had put pizza in that ice chest before we launched. And the majority of what I ate up there was pizza. And the biggest rule for space food is it can't create crumbs because like we couldn't bring bread because it made too many crumbs. And these crumbs on Earth is not a big deal. They just fall on the ground. But in space, they float around. They could get in people's eyes. They could affect our computers. So they gave us, for example, a tortilla instead of bread. So there was a day that I ate peanut butter on a tortilla. And I had some shelf-stable, so non-refrigerated cheese and beef jerky. But a lot of what we ate was candy because we were playing with it. We had M&Ms and Skittles floating all over the place.
That's awesome. Get hit in the eye with a Skittle, you know?
Yeah.
So, okay, you get up there. It's 9 minutes. And then what's the first thing you see? Like, what was the amazing thing about, like, that first look into space?
The first thing I saw was a sunrise.
Oh,
so
wow.
when we launched, the Earth was initially, it looked very dark. And we had to be buckled in our spacesuits for a little bit after we got there. And then all of a sudden I see this very pale bluish purple pop into my line of vision. And I even said out loud, I said, "Is that the Earth?" And I knew it was Earth, but it was just so unbelievable. I had to say it out loud. And then I just remember seeing a lot of clouds and bodies of water. But it was the paleness of the sunrise that was the first thing I really remember seeing.
That's amazing. And was it just breathtaking, or was it kind of like, this looks like a screensaver on my laptop?
It feels so different looking at it from space. And I think it's because you just really feel the depth. Like you see the shadows from under the clouds, and it makes everything feel so 3D. You see mountains coming towards you. We actually got to see a wildfire where the smoke was coming towards us. And so everything just feels very like real, and the 3D-ness of it makes it feel very alive.
Yeah, that's amazing. So how high up, like do you know how, like what the dimensions were of how high you were in orbit?
We were higher than the space station. We were around 595 kilometers or like 360 miles above the surface of Earth.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, so you orbited for 3 days. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay, so what was that like?
It was incredible because we really got the whole experience of living in space. Like we had to sleep, we had to eat, we had to get dressed in the morning, brush our teeth. And a lot of what we were doing up there was research. We really wanted to contribute to science while we were up there. And so we were doing these different kinds of research projects throughout the day. And then we did have some time where we got to really enjoy the view and just enjoy floating and being there. And then we also called the St. Jude patients, the patients with cancer at the hospital where I work. And that was a really special moment.
That's really cool. I think that's amazing. So what were some of the projects you were doing? Like, these were like science projects? Was it just information you were taking down? How did that work?
They were different science projects, learning more about how the human body functions in this zero gravity or the microgravity environment. And they have some data from NASA. They have loads of data, but those are more for the longer duration space missions. Ours was a shorter duration. And so they wanted to compare what differences occur in the human body in the first couple of days versus the longer time that you're up there. And so, for example, we were ultrasounding different parts of our bodies to see the size and the shape in that zero gravity environment. And we took a bunch of cognition tests. So we had to do tests on an iPad to see how well the brain was functioning, basically. We also swabbed different parts of our bodies to test the microbes on our skin and how that changed in the 3 days in space. We were giving all kinds of samples that they later did a bunch of testing on, but like saliva samples, blood samples every day. And then they compared that with the data from before our flight and after our flight.
So how many people were in the spacecraft with you?
There were 4 of us, and our mission was called Inspiration 4.
That's very cool. I love that. Okay, so you go to space, you've been orbiting. How do you know it's time to go home?
We'll be right back after this. You know, raising kids in the digital age isn't easy, but Bark Technology makes products that help parents keep their kids safe online and in real life. They have an app, a phone, and a home device that lets families set parental controls on their internet-connected devices. I love the app because it helps us manage screen time and blocks websites and apps we want our kids to avoid. It also sends alerts and gives us the ability to monitor texts and social media and even track your child's location. Visit bark.us to learn more about how you can keep your kids safe online. Use the code COLLIDEKIDS to get 15% off your subscription of the Bark app.
So we had every hour, maybe even it was down to the 30 minutes, timed out for us. And it was included in basically the schedule that was uploaded to our flight iPads before launch. So we knew this hour was coming, and we had dropped our altitude slightly the day before we came back, and then we had to put our spacesuits back on, strap in, and the whole process was about 2.5 hours to get us down. We landed in the ocean, but it was really the last 15 minutes where we were coming through the atmosphere. I could see flames out of the window, and we felt just this really intense gravity on us before we, boom, landed in the ocean.
Yeah, I'm sure that was a unique experience.
It was.
Unlike anything else.
It was physically, it was more difficult than launch to endure all that gravity when our bodies had not been used to gravity for a couple of days being without gravity. And then also, that was the part of launch, or the part of the whole experience that I was most nervous about.
Was the coming back. And then you land, where did you land in the ocean? Was it like near the shore or like middle of the ocean?
Luckily, it was near the shore. Okay. It was actually right off the coast of Florida near Cape Canaveral. So then they put our spacecraft on a boat where we all got out, and then they helicoptered us back to Cape Canaveral, Kennedy Space Center. Very
cool. That's amazing. Now, you are the youngest American to ever be in space. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that whole process, you made history.
I will say I'm the youngest American to orbit Earth.
To orbit. Okay. But still, that's amazing. Like, you made history in that moment, and you're the first pediatric cancer survivor to be in space.
Yes. Yeah. I'm really proud of that one. And just being able to share it with kids who are fighting something really difficult, to show them this light at the end of the tunnel, that having cancer doesn't have to stop them. And it's the same message that I want to share with other kids, because all kids go through something that really challenges them and maybe even makes them doubt what their future could look like. And I want to show them through this mission that they can dream big, because really incredible things can happen to them.
That's right. So their cancer diagnosis doesn't have to be their label. You know, we talked about that in one of our episodes previous to this, was just, you know, we put on a lot of labels, or people put labels on us, and that doesn't have to be our label. We can overcome that. We can change that. And so I love that you're able to inspire people. So to inspire people, especially kids, you wrote a book. Tell us about your book.
Astronaut Hayley's Brave Adventure. It's about a character named Astronaut Hayley, and the storyline of the book is similar to my real life experiences. That Astronaut Hayley, she learns to be brave in everyday ways, like at school, and then she gets sick and she has to be brave in this whole other kind of way. And because she's been so brave, they want her to be an astronaut. And then in space, something goes wrong and she has to be really brave and save the day. And that part didn't exactly happen. That was the fiction side of the children's book. But I wanted to be able to share my story with kids, and I wanted to celebrate their everyday bravery, and just focus on this concept of hope bravery, resilience, because it is something that all kids need to, they need to have bravery every single day in being who they are and in being in their school environments. And so I wanted to share what I learned in a fun way. And luckily, kids tend to love space. And so hopefully they'll enjoy the story of astronaut Hayley as she has her adventures in space, but really hoping it inspires kids to dream big and to believe in their big dreams.
Yeah, I love that. And the book is so fun. So I definitely encourage our listeners to check that out. It's such a fun, very colorful. And if you want to know what it's like to be a brave astronaut, you could check that out for sure. Now, I do want to go back and talk a little bit about your experience with, you had cancer as a child and that was really difficult, but you're cancer-free. You're completely healed now.
Yes. I was in treatment for a year. I had to do very intensive chemotherapy. I had surgery to save my leg and put in that prosthesis. And then I've been cancer-free ever since.
That's amazing. And then that experience inspired you to become a doctor. Tell us a little bit about that.
I'm a PA, a physician assistant at St. Jude, and all I've ever wanted to do is work at St. Jude. And when I was a 10-year-old going through treatment, I would tell all my doctors and nurses that I'm going to come back and work with you one day. And then I went to college. I studied hard. I became a PA. And then, to be honest, I didn't get my dream job right away. I was told no a couple of times and had to just work on getting experience and never give up. And then I got my dream job at the hospital. And then I had this other dream come my way of going to space, a dream I never could have expected.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And I love that's part of your story, that sometimes there's some roadblocks or some things that get in the way and we just have to keep working towards the goal and keep moving towards it.
That it's part of life. Sometimes you get told no, but that doesn't always mean a final no. Maybe it just means no right now.
That's right. Yeah. And that's hard. That's hard for kids and adults to deal with, because we want what we want right away.
Yes. Yes.
Well, I love that you're doing that now and you're able to help other people. And I think that's so inspiring that, you've been used in so many different ways to do amazing things. What is something in your space journey and your journey with becoming a PA and dealing with cancer and all those things? What are some things that has helped you from your faith in God? Like, how has that encouraged you or helped you through this time?
I truly believe that everything happens for a reason and is part of his plan. And so when I was going through cancer treatment, that was one thing that I would say out loud a lot with my mom, and saying it out loud really helped. For I know the plans I have for you. It gave me hope that even though I was having to go through so much and I was suffering in a lot of ways, that it would be used for good, that God would use the experience for good. And he has, and I've seen it. And especially just getting to do what I do, helping other kids with cancer, and then getting to go to space to raise money for kids with cancer.
I think it's so amazing. I think I say this almost every episode, but it's like the things that happen to us when we're kids really inspires the things that we do later. And I love that the way that you were served and supported and helped as a kid is something you're getting to do now for other kids going through the same thing, because you know what it feels like and you know what that experience was like for those families. So how does that encourage you to know that you're serving the people that you once were?
It's so easy to remember the people that impacted me and knowing what a huge impact they had on me, not only at that time, but for the rest of my life. And so to think that I could be that person for someone else, that's what encourages me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that so much. All right. So do you think you'll ever go to space again?
I think I was really lucky to go the one time.
Okay.
And I would like other people to have the experience.
Yeah.
I will say I'd be tempted by a moon mission. But I will not go to Mars. You can count me out for Mars.
That's like years and years and years. You have to really be committed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I really love Earth. And so I've
great.
Earth is so great. And so I've enjoyed being back here and getting to really appreciate our planet.
That's amazing. I love that. Well, Hayley, this has been so good talking with you. I love your story. I'm so thankful that you've had all these experiences that's led to this moment. And you have such an amazing book. I hope our listeners will check that out.
Well, thank you for the kind words and for having me on. It's been so fun talking to you.
Yeah. Where can our listeners find out about your book?
It is anywhere books are sold. It's on Amazon, Books A Million, and then it's in local bookstores as well.
Great. Okay. Well, that's good. I hope people will check that out. Okay. Before I let you go, I always ask my guests to tell me a memory from when they were a kid. So what memory do you want to share with us today about your childhood?
Okay. I have a story. And it makes me sound like I wasn't a very nice big sister, but I promise it was just a one-time thing.
Okay.
But I'm 3 years older than my brother. And whenever my mom took him home from the hospital, there was this one day that she was in the kitchen cooking. I was playing. I was in the room. My brother was sleeping. And then all of a sudden she hears my brother scream, and she runs in the room, and he's just screaming this like, that the moms know that scream.
Right. Exactly.
And she said, "What happened? What happened?" And I was just sitting there, eyes wide. And I said, "Someone may have bit him." And she said, "What?" And she saw his sock on his foot was wet, and she took it off. There was little teeth marks. And I think I was just adjusting to being a big sister for the first time. And we have gotten along very well since then. But as a 3-year-old,
someone, I don't know who would have done it, but
I know that's what we love about that story, that someone may have bit him. And there was like clearly no one else there.
It was clearly teeth marks. Like you definitely did.
But we get along great now. We've come a long way.
No more biting, right?
No, never.
Thanks for being on the show today. This was so fun meeting you.
It was great to meet you too. This was really fun. I love your podcast.
Isn't that an incredible story? I cannot believe that it only takes 9 minutes to get to space. But I guess if you're riding on a really fast rocket, that would happen. And it took 6 months of training for her 3-day mission. Wow, that's such dedication and probably a lot of hard work that I know she set her mind to do. I loved when Hayley was talking about the day of the mission and how she thought she would be really nervous, but she woke up and she just thought, I'm going to space today. And she trusted in God through the whole process and knew that God's plan was at work. She also reminded us that everyone is going to go through something that really challenges you and makes you doubt what your future will be like. But like she said, cancer doesn't have to define you. Your mistakes don't have to define you. Your challenges don't have to define you. God is in control of your future, and you can dream big dreams and believe in your big dreams. Hayley said God is able to take our experiences and use it for good. Hayley's cancer journey as a child was tough and challenging, but it brought her into some incredible opportunities and a passion for helping other cancer patients. Hayley Arceneaux's book, Astronaut Hayley's Brave Adventure, will inspire children everywhere to reach for the stars, to aspire for the impossible, and to seek new friends and new adventures wherever they are. You can get Hayley's brand new book that just came out last month wherever books are sold. Well, now it's time for our family conversation, so let's talk about it. Here's the 3 questions that you and your family can discuss. You can pause between each question, or if you have really good memory, you can listen to all 3 and talk about them later after the episode's over. All right, here's the first one. Imagine you're an astronaut floating in space and looking back at Earth. What do you think would be the most amazing thing to see, and how do you think it would make you feel? Okay, here's the second one. Hayley talked about how challenges don't define us and that God is in control of our future. Can you think of a time when you had to trust God even when things were hard or uncertain? Ooh, that was a good question. Okay, last one. God used Hayley's difficult journey for good, giving her opportunities to help others. How do you think God can use the challenges in our lives to help us grow or make a difference? Well, I hope you and your family enjoyed discussing those things. Those are some really fun questions to think about. Well, if you're enjoying the podcast and you want to help keep it going, there's a few ways that you can support the show. First, leaving a rating and review is a huge help. It not only makes my day to read them, but it also helps more families find out about the show. You can also share this episode with a friend and let them know why your family loves listening. And if you're shopping on Amazon, you can now support the podcast at no extra cost to you by just using my affiliate link. Just head over to collidekidspodcast.com and click the Amazon link before you check out. Or if you want to send a little extra encouragement, you can hit the Buy Me a Coffee link on my website. And most of all, I always appreciate your prayer support. Well, I hope you guys have an amazing week. Wait, I hope your week is out of this world. Get it? And in case no one has told you today, I would love to be the first to remind you that God loves you so much. Thanks for listening.
You don't have to go very far looking for bad news because somehow it just finds you. So finding peace in the chaos can be really difficult, but it doesn't have to be because the River mobile app exists. The River is a Christian music radio station dedicated to playing music to help you get through life's toughest moments or life's happiest moments and everywhere in between, and all from artists who love Jesus and are real people just like you. Listening is easy. You can download it wherever you get apps from. Just search 1049 The River or listen online at riverradio.com. And know that The River is proud to partner with the Collide Kids podcast.